This is Prime Crime Network.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
These three young men are now charged in connection with a murder in downtown Jacksonville, and the court said today it's possible hate crime charges could be added. The investigation prompted a SWAT team to descend on this cul-de-sac in St. Johns County, as seen from Sky 4.
One of the men lived in the home that you just saw.
The murder was 2 days ago on Ashley Street, downtown. A man was found shot to death next to a dumpster. Surveillance video captured the crime. It led police to these three men who range in age from 18 to 21.
Yes, like you mentioned, there is the possibility for an enhancement of hate crime charges, and for that murder charge, there's also some tampering with evidence. According to this report, surveillance cameras in the area gave police everything they needed to make an arrest.
LaGuardia, Ryan Nicholas.
Two of the three men charged in a murder case were in court Thursday. One of them, Ryan Nichols, is charged with murder. The other two with accessory after the fact. A 39-year-old man is dead. We don't know his name or why he was shot. It happened Tuesday on West Ashley Street. According to arrest reports, the victim was being chased by a man on foot. The victim tried to hide behind a dumpster, and two other men were following them in a Jeep. The report says after interacting with the victim, the suspect gets in the Jeep and they drive away. Around 6:45 Tuesday morning, someone sees the victim dead of a gunshot wound next to the dumpster. Multiple shell casings and an extended magazine were found next to him. The next day, thanks to surveillance video, investigators were seen at this St. Johns County house Wednesday evening. Sky 4 flew over a joint operation with JSO and the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office. This is Daniel DeGuardia's home. He faces accessory charges with possible enhancements of a hate crime. We saw SWAT units, a crime scene van, and multiple detectives. There, JSO positively ID'd the Jeep involved in the chase. You see it being towed here, as well as the three men. They were brought in for questioning, then booked into the jail.
Now, what's unclear is why this chase or all of this interaction between these three men started to begin with. And also, we're waiting to find out more about why prosecutors are considering adding on those hate crimes charges. You can review the bails set for the two men who are charged with accessories. There is no bail set for the person charged with murder. They all have court dates again set for May 25th.
Prime Crime Network.
It was exclusive. Devin Arthur's odd behavior in court might be on full display next week. The Tampa man is charged with murder, accused of gunning down his two roommates 6 years ago, and now he is headed to trial. But his lawyers have a risky strategy for keeping him out of prison: the insanity defense. Fox 13's Gloria Gomez shows us how Arthur's has been claiming mental illness for years.
Devin Arthur's strange behavior in court was hard to miss, and the odd actions continued for several minutes and may have hinted at his new defense strategy coming soon. Arthur's defense team plans to rely on the insanity defense, arguing he knew what he was doing. However, he didn't know it was wrong because he suffered from a mental disease. Arthur's even told police after his arrest he was sick.
I'm very prone to getting angry a lot. I'm very to the point where I think that I might be kind of sick in that sense. And I want to get help for that. I think that I would much rather be at a mental hospital where I should have been.
Doctors agreed, and in 2018, he was found incompetent to proceed and sent to a state hospital for treatment.
Arthur's told police he and his roommates were neo-Nazi believers, but recently he had converted to the Muslim faith. He then turned on his roommates after they disrespected his new religion. They say he gunned down two of his roommates and then led police to his third roommate, Brandon Russell, who had explosives and bomb-making material in the garage. Arthur says Russell was planning to blow up power plants and synagogues around Florida.
But the things that they were planning were horrible.
Arthur then pointed police to a neo-Nazi recruiting website Russell's had created called Atomwaffen, which means atomic bomb in German. Russell even had a framed picture of Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh on his dresser. Police asked him about that.
Have So Devin had said that you admired that guy. Can you explain about that a little bit?
Russell served time in federal prison on explosive charges. Arthur's trial is set for next week, and this odd behavior might be on full display for the jury.
First tonight, a
Prime Crime Network.
exclusive.
A week of terror is over in Davis. Cops say they have a serial killer in custody, charged with 2 murders and an attempted murder.
A murderer is off the streets, and our families will sleep easier tonight.
That suspect is now booked in the Yolo County Jail, and jail records show he is expected to face a judge tomorrow.
Now, that suspect is 21-year-old Carlos Dominguez. Up until last week, he was a student at UC Davis. Police say the suspect had a large hunting-style knife with him when he was detained yesterday. Investigators have not released a possible motive.
Now, investigators are searching a home connected to the suspect. This is on Hawthorne Lane, right off 8th Street. Drone 13 over the scene, and you can see officers. They were talking to neighbors. They have been interviewing his roommates, and they do believe in between the attacks, he returned to this home. About 3 blocks around this home are now taped off. We've got team coverage for you from Davis.
I can only get this close because of that police tape that's blocked off these 3 blocks. At the center of where you see those cars in the distance, especially that black SUV, and even where you see that blue tarp, that's sitting in the driveway of a home that police say is where Dominguez lived. And as you mentioned, he didn't live there alone. Dominguez came back to this very house on Hawthorne Lane after that first stabbing on Thursday. Police believe he was here from Thursday and in and out throughout the rest of this week and in those next 2 stabbings. This is something today that had neighbors in this latest press conference on edge. One neighbor came and said he was disturbed that this killer was living with roommates who likely did not speak to police before this, because police say in those 15 tips that they got yesterday, they're still going through to see exactly who they came from. They have questioned those roommates and talked to them. At this point, they are not being charged with anything, but they were living with this person. The concern for these neighbors is that the suspect was at this home, not just Thursday, but into this week. He was detained just yesterday, 2 blocks over from where this house is. Above in drone 13, you can see how many individuals with law enforcement have been in and out of this scene today. It's only grown since around 11 o'clock this morning when the search warrant was first issued. Those roommates, of course, not able to go to this house. We've seen individuals with law enforcement taking photos, collecting evidence, and members of the FBI have been talking to neighbors directly around this house, asking them about it. I've done the same. One neighbor said that, like many homes in this neighborhood, it's owned and rented to college students. This house was the very same, a house of college students. When we asked Davis' police chief today about this, he explained a little bit of what was going on with the suspect over these last few days.
What I can say is, again, he was out wandering a neighborhood where the second homicide had occurred. He had a large knife in a backpack, wearing the same clothes from the 3rd stabbing. That's highly unusual and unique. I think everybody will have to draw their own conclusions on that.
What did the roommates know, and when did they share it with law enforcement? These are questions I asked the police chief. They said they're still, of course, in the early stages of this investigation. It's now going over to that prosecution side of things, but it's concerning for these neighbors that live in this area, knowing that this killer was able to come home here after at least one of those stabbings this week. Well, there are a lot of questions surrounding this, but a sigh of relief in Davis. But yeah, you have to wonder, did the roommates look at each other at some point and go, hey, the description, that looks like the guy who lives in that bedroom over there. Madison, one other point here. We had 6 days with a day in between each of these stabbings. And so you have to wonder yesterday, with the last stabbing being Monday and a day spaced in between, when those people, the 15 people called in those tips, was that suspect on his way to kill or stab somebody else? Yeah, Curtis, I asked that exact question to the Davis police chief. They said that we'd have to draw our own conclusions. He was in a similar, if not the same outfit that he had been identified wearing in 2 of those stabbings. He had a backpack. In that backpack was that large hunting knife that they say was likely used in at least one of those stabbings. So again, the police chief said it's still in the early stages of this investigation, but with knowing those facts, he says Davis and this greater community can make their own assumptions.
Right, and just chilling to think of what those tips called in may have prevented. Just goes to show you how important the community is in saying something.
See something, say something.
Exactly.
May have saved a life.
Prime Crime Network.
Exclusive.
Philadelphia, a deadly confrontation with police. Officers shoot and kill a man in North Philadelphia.
And police say the incident started with a vehicle investigation that led to a chase, a struggle, and an officer firing several shots.
Police have since left the area, wrapping up the investigation, at least for now, in this part of North Philadelphia. They have body camera footage from those 2 officers, and we are told they recovered a weapon. Emotions are running high in North Philadelphia after Philadelphia police shoot a man they say was armed and pointed his gun at them. Police say he was Curtis Smith. Family provided us with this photo.
I mean, where's the heart at? This is a community. We care about each other. We working people.
Philadelphia police responded to the area of Fawn and Dauphin Streets for reports of a stolen car. Police say they came upon a group of people, many of whom ran. Moments later, police say 33-year-old Smith took off running from that car. Officers followed him. Sergeant Eric Grip details what he says then happened.
The foot pursuit itself continued down the 2200 block of Camac Street. The male that was being chased produced a handgun and aimed it at our officer. Our officer fired at least 1 time. At that point, Officer 2, who still was not caught up at this point, heard the gunshots and began running towards them. When Officer 2 arrived on this location, he saw his partner, Officer 1, engaged in a physical altercation with this male. At some point during that physical altercation, the male fired at least 1 shot from his gun. When that shot was fired, Officer 2 then discharged several rounds towards that male, and that stopped the struggle.
Smith later died at the hospital. Brenda, who says she knew him, is distraught.
I'm 62 years old. I lived in this neighborhood most of my life. So his family, my family, we all been friends. We all been family.
And those families' demands there right now to see the officer-worn body camera footage, and police telling us that decision on its possible release would be up to the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. Once again, at this time, Philadelphia police not revealing how many shots were fired by those 2 officers.
Thank you for watching Prime Crime Network, your source for urban and suburban and around the world news. Hit the subscribe, like, and the notification bell. And check us out on PrimeCrimeNetwork.com.